everybody. Welcome to the assistive technology part of our segment. I'm very excited to introduce our next guest who is working a lot with mobility issues for adults with disability and challenges. So without further delay, I am introducing to you Duncan Jones, who's the CEO and co-founder of Camino Robotics. Take it away, Duncan.
Thanks, Amita. Appreciate it. Yes, my name is Duncan Jones. I am the co-founder and CEO of Camino Robotics. I started the company with Bill Gross of Idea Lab and a few other co-founders. We all had independently observed challenges surrounding existing walkers and rollators, so devices that people are using to help them stay stable and active and mobile, to basically walk. And so for me personally, it was watching my father for the last 20 plus years, he's had Parkinson's for 25 years or so, watching him have to deal with the inadequacies of rollators and walkers today. Bill Gross had observed exactly the same issues with his parents and his in-laws. And then another co-founder of ours actually, unfortunately, had a bad bike accident that left him quadriplegic. And after 2 years or so of therapy, he is finally transitioning. So he's now walking with assistive devices. So he's actually now an end user of walkers and rollators. So has a real personal connection to the challenges associated with these things. So we're driven to try and find a way to make these devices more useful, safer, and frankly less stigmatizing the devices that are on the marketplace today.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And there's nothing like when a group of people who really feel a personal connection come together to solve a problem. So would you tell us a little bit more about, what are the technology that you're using to solve some of these problems?
Yeah, why don't I start by, why don't I go through a few slides that talks to the fundamental challenge with devices today and what it is we're building into our device to solve it. So if
Sure.
you don't mind, I will share a few slides. So the company's, our consumer brand is Camino, and ultimately our mission is to really help people live a healthy and active lifestyle and essentially power longevity through keeping them mobile. The problem we're trying to solve here is that current devices are really trapped in time. They're sort of designed decades ago. They have really pretty poor usability and fairly poor safety. And so they're failing the older adults who are dependent on them. About 17 million people a year over the age of 65 are falling. And in many cases, they're falling because they've resisted using a device because of the stigma. And obviously they feel like perhaps they don't need one and they're ignoring the fact that their balance is failing and what have you. And so as a result of that, we have about $68 billion of medical expense in the US alone surrounding people falling, people at the age of 65 falling, should I say. And that doesn't even take into consideration all the other factors surrounding people not being perhaps as active and as mobile as they could be. And so what we have set about to do is to design something that is less stigmatizing, has greater safety, and really assists people with staying more active and mobile. And so we designed and developed the world's first adaptive walker. And there's sort of four components that go into that. Really is the design itself in terms of usability and aesthetics. We think aesthetics are important here, and most of our products these days have benefited from Apple design and what have you, and they're better looking and easier to use.
And that's very motivating for sure.
Exactly. I think it's certainly motivating. The second aspect is around power assist. So it seems like almost everything we have these days is connected and has power in it, and yet these devices there's none on the marketplace in the US that have any kind of ability to assist somebody, whether it be on hills or rough surfaces and what have you. The fourth element down there, the third element is smart safety. So again, most of the products we have these days have sensors in them and can detect things and are aware. The devices don't today, so we're adding in sensors and things like automatic braking help people avoid getting into problems. And then the fourth element there is about telehealth. So using computer vision and AI to keep track of the person's gait, et cetera, so that we can help them and their physical therapists give them better care. And so looking at each of those very quickly in terms of what's in there, the design of a device like this for our customer base is super important, not only because current devices are stigmatizing, but also that many of our customers are not going to want lots of technology, overt technology. They don't want necessarily something that's overtly robotic. And so our ground rules really around disguising the AI and the robotics around something that's very familiar. So the devices you see on the right, it doesn't look massively different than a current device. It's got 4 wheels and it's got handles, etc. It's not an exoskeleton or something crazy. So it's fairly familiar looking. We want the design to be aspirational, so people feel, hopefully at the minimum, that it's less stigmatizing than current devices, but ideally it's something that they feel proud about walking behind. The thing has to be very, very simple, right? So no user interface at all. It just works. You turn the thing on and it works and it does what you want it to do. And frankly, it works when it doesn't work. In other words, this is a powered device, but it can't be broken when the batteries run out, right? People are dependent on these things for mobility, so we need to make sure it's working when it's not working. And then people care about utilities. It's got to have the basic utilities that they need for daily life. And then, so from a design standpoint, the types of things we're solving for are really centered around what we hear from end users in terms of struggles they have with current devices. So the devices are not made, for example, to be able to navigate through tight spaces. For those of us who are not using a device, we don't realize how frequently we're working through a space that you couldn't get through with a current device. People love the idea of being able to control that. Being able to sit and stand off a park bench or anything that doesn't have handles is very difficult for someone. And then just the ability to tuck it away. You go into a restaurant and you want to have it next to you, so if you want to use the restroom, you can get it out and use it and not be dependent on someone else and getting the device. So those design elements are super important.
These all sound very practical to me and very user-friendly. So thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, those ones really do center around the practical elements. And that's mostly just about design. It's not the technical piece. So moving on to the elements where we're embedding technology, the first is really around the power assist. Again, we don't want to have a device where you have to have a throttle on the device for going up and down hills. So what we've done is embed electric motors into the wheels, electric motors that actually sense exactly how much boost they need to give. So we're able to interpret that based on the slope and based on how the person is pushing the device, so they get just the right amount of boost. Conversely, if you're going downhill, it's something it's really pretty stressful for people who are using one of these devices. The brakes don't work very well. We hear it from lots of people. So what we wanted to do is have a device where you don't actually have to be squeezing the brakes all the time. The brakes are just applied perfectly to keep it stable and secure for you. So in our case, we sense the slope and we add just the right amount of braking to keep the person feeling secure and give them peace of mind. And then the next thing around the smarts is sort of being able to understand not just how the person wants to maneuver, but try to understand more about the environment. And so, there's a quote here from Paul who's talking about his father, and I know his father has fallen off a curb several times using a rollator because he just couldn't see the edge. And so in this day and age with sensors and things, we should be able to prevent people from doing those things. So between steering and automatic braking, we ought to help people minimize the risk that they're facing around some of these hazards. And then the fourth one, as I mentioned earlier on, is being able to use computer vision and an AI to monitor the idiosyncrasies of someone's gait. Fundamentally, people who are using these devices have some issue around their gait and stability, and most of them are seeing a physical therapist fairly regularly. But the physical therapist can only really help them while they're in the office. And when they're gone, they're out of sight, out of mind, and there's a missed opportunity there. So we're trying to fill that gap essentially by giving the physical therapist the ability to have insights into how well the patient's actually following the guidance, and have a feedback loop for the patients themselves in terms of how they're performing against maybe the homework that the physical therapist has given them. And through that, we hope, again, by doing each of those things, we hope to keep people more active, give them more opportunity to get outside, remove some of the impediments to them staying mobile, and then ultimately have AI there can actually help them with their therapies, etc., so that again we're maximizing the chance of them having sort of great outcomes in terms of longevity.
I know these are great. Thank you so much for sharing all the technological details, and it's very exciting. The product looks very, very promising for a very active and mobile life for our geriatric population and adults who have challenges with mobility. So this is really great. Thank you so much for giving this insight. When is this kind of product, you think, going to be available for the community?
Yeah, we're working hard on trying to get it out as quickly as we can. The next major step for us is to launch a pre-sales program, which we hope to have on the website within the next month. And then we're also looking to select from that a small subset of people who will be our beta users for a period of time, again, sometime over the next 3 or 4 months or so. And then we'll release the device to the consumers as quickly as possible after that.
Great. I know in the last slide we had the website information, and if anybody wants to participate, I guess, in the beta program or know a little bit more about the products, I think they can visit your website and get more information, right?
Yes, please do. Come to meetcamino.com and you'll find out more information. We'll update more about the features as they're refined and give more information about when it's available.
Thank you so much, Duncan, for your time and sharing this insightful conversation today with our audience. We wish you all the best and hope this useful product is going to be available very soon for the community.
Thanks, Namita. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.